I think what it does is it enables us to serve more children. I think that's first and foremost.
It's back to class for thousands of students in District 11. More on a new program getting younger kids prepared for kindergarten. Plus, improving safety. Crews work to install a new concrete median barrier on Highway 10 in Anoka. But first,
we are here today to fight for safety for patients and safety for staff.
Alina nurses hit the picket lines for the second time this year. That tops CTN News this Friday, September 9th, 2016. Thanks for joining us. Thousands of Alina nurses from 5 Twin Cities hospitals, including Mercy and Unity, walked off the job on Labor Day.
That came just days after a marathon 22-hour bargaining session that ended without a new contract agreement. Alina has brought in 1,500 replacement nurses on temporary contracts to staff the hospitals during the second strike, with no end date in sight. CTN's Jordan Rylance has more on how the strike is impacting Mercy Hospital here in Coon Rapids.
Alina nurses are on strike for a second time in 4 months. Alina officials and nurses failed to come to contract agreements on healthcare coverage, nurse safety, and staffing last week, prompting an open-ended strike.
We're disappointed that the union has decided to strike. We don't believe that was necessary to get this done.
While Alina officials continue to focus their efforts on a new healthcare coverage plan, nurses say there is a disconnect between what they want and what is being offered.
The nurses are becoming assaulted at a higher rate than they ever have in history. So it's important to us to get some safety protection for our nurses too as they're giving care to our patients.
Mercy Hospital has 1,000 full and part-time nurses on staff. Officials have brought in just 250 replacement nurses to fill those positions, and that's a number that's concerning to these Mercy nurses.
There is no way that you can care for a patient properly with only 1/4 of the nurses that are employed at this hospital, so that does raise questions.
But Krieger says patient care has not and will not be affected during the strike, despite the nurse deficit.
Many of the permanent nurses don't work full-time. The replacement nurses, this is kind of what they do as a profession, so they come, they work 12-hour shifts versus our nurses who work 8-hour shifts and maybe not even 5 8-hour shifts a week. So there's fewer people that are needed to fill the spots.
Right now, there is no talk of another meeting at the bargaining table, but these Alina nurses hope an agreement can be reached soon so they can get back to their patients' bedsides.
It's devastating for us. You become a nurse because it's usually a calling. We don't want to be away from the patients.
In Coon Rapids, Jordan Rylance, CTN News.
Mercy officials say about 14% of their nursing staff have stayed on the job, a number higher than the last strike in June, which lasted just 7 days. Due to the strike, temporary parking restrictions are in effect near Mercy Hospital. There is no parking allowed on several streets, including the west side of Dakota, to allow ambulances and emergency room patients better access to the hospital. The parking restrictions took effect Labor Day and will continue until further notice.
After several weeks of delays, work is officially underway on a $7 million reconstruction project on Foley Boulevard. Over the next year, Foley is being upgraded from a 2-lane to a 4-lane divided roadway between Egret and Northdale Boulevards. Work between Egret and 113th Avenue will take place this year, with work between 113th and Northdale Boulevard taking place next year. In preparation for next year's work, the Marathon gas station at the Foley-Northdale intersection was recently torn down. That intersection will be reconfigured and a new traffic signal will be installed. Motorists who use Egret Boulevard could hit a roadblock this weekend. This morning, Egret was closed at the single railroad tracks to allow crews to replace the overhead signal equipment at the crossing. Signs are posted and drivers are being asked to find an alternative route. Egret is expected to reopen to traffic by 7 p.m. on September 13th.
A dangerous area for pedestrians in Anoka is getting some much-needed safety improvements. This week, MnDOT started work on erecting a concrete median barrier on Highway 10 between Fair Oak Avenue and Thurston Avenue. The nearly 3/4 of a mile-long barrier is being built to improve safety by discouraging pedestrians from crossing in the middle of the block. Over the years, several pedestrians have been killed while jaywalking across Highway 10. Motorists should expect lane closures during the $1.1 million project, which is expected to wrap up by mid-October. A pedestrian and bike path is also being constructed on the north side of Highway 10. Commuters in the North Metro will have a chance to learn more about plans for min-pass lanes on 35W at 2 open houses next week. The first will take place on Tuesday night at Eaglebrook Church in Blaine. A second meeting is planned for Wednesday night at the New Brighton City Hall. The project would add a min-pass express lane in both directions from south of County Road C in Roseville to Lexington Avenue in Blaine. The environmental assessment is under review, and it outlines the project and its anticipated social, economic, and environmental impacts.
An early morning fire destroyed a Coon Rapids home on Labor Day. The flames broke out just before 7 at this home in the 3000 block of 131st Avenue, which is near Crooked Lake. Firefighters arrived to find heavy smoke and flames shooting through the roof of the home. Fortunately, no one was injured, but the home is a total loss. Fire officials believe a lightning strike sparked that fire.
The city budgeting process is already well underway for next year. On Tuesday night, the City Council approved the preliminary tax levy for 2017 at just over $25.6 million. That's about a 3% increase from this year's tax levy. Thanks to voters, $2.7 million is included in the budget for 2017 park improvement projects. A part-time ice arena assistant position is also being increased to full-time. As for the tax impact for homeowners, the 6 properties tracked by the city will see anywhere from a $71 a year increase to a $23 a year decrease in their city portion of the property taxes. The state's budget is helping more kids across Minnesota attend preschool.
During the last legislative session, lawmakers approved $25 million in funding for low-income area schools to expand pre-kindergarten classes. This week, CTN's Joe Nelson found out which kids are eligible and how the earlier education can influence them for years to come.
Career and college ready, this is one of those early steps in that process.
Families with 4-year-olds living near Adams Elementary in Coon Rapids now have a chance to take those steps. Up to $710,000 of state funding were allocated to District 11 for voluntary preschool as part of a new program for schools selected throughout the state. Starting this school year, Adams and Evergreen Park in Brooklyn Center, both in low-income areas, are offering 6 total sections of Kindergarten Readiness Preschool Plus, 5 days a week with morning and afternoon sections.
It clearly has been a challenging road for us to get money for early education.
Teachers and administrators say they've been waiting for the state to make an investment like this for years.
Finally they're seeing what the value is of preschool, because it's not just the academics, it's building that social emotional too, and they become role models.
Entering her 13th year of teaching, April Griffith says being ready for kindergarten can impact kids for years to come.
When they're behind and not ready, that just sets up for years of, I can't do school. And we want them right from the bat. Nope, school is a good place, school's a positive place.
The achievement gap actually from research starts to appear as early as the age of 1 and 2. So the sooner we can reach these children and help them move forward, the better all of us will be.
One thing I always say to my preschoolers, practice makes awesome. The kids will say to me, oh, no, it's practice makes perfect. I said, no, because practice makes awesome, because awesome can mean so many different things, just for them to have the confidence that, no, I can do this. When I see that kid go, aha, I can do this, nothing's better than that.
Steve Kerr says there are still spots available, and any parents looking to enroll their 4-year-olds in the Adams or Evergreen Park areas should contact the school district. Steve and Karen?
What a great program.
Yep, definitely.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Joe.
Joe. Sunday marks the 15th anniversary of the September 11th attacks, and the Minnesota Humanities Center is using the occasion to honor 25 well-deserving veterans, including a Coon Rapids woman. 32-year-old Lena Knox of the Minnesota Army National Guard will receive an On the Rise award during a special ceremony planned at the University of St. Thomas Sunday night. Knox served in Iraq from 2008 to 2010. She's described as a tireless doer who is dedicated to the wellness of Minnesota combat veterans. The Main Street Bridge in Coon Rapids will once again be the site for a sunrise to sunset vigil to remember those lost in the September 11th attacks. On Sunday, members of the police and fire departments will join military members for the Day of Remembrance. People will be donating blood from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. And new this year, a free 9/11 Remembrance and Honor car show will take place from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. in the Lowe's parking lot. Cars, trucks, and motorcycles will be taking part.
The second and final movie in the park of the year is coming up next weekend. On September 17th, The Minions will be shown at 7:30 p.m. on the big screen at Riverview Park. Be sure to bring a blanket or lawn chair and enjoy that free movie. There'll also be kids' activities and food. The sales of those begin at 5:30. You can also enjoy those inflatable bouncers, face painting. It's free. It's sponsored by the Coon Rapids Community Strength Foundation.
Pretty
Be sure
cool
to join
deal.
us.
That's going to do it for us. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again next week.